We all think of our memories as these purely personal things, right? Like little movies of our past that we just watch inside our own heads. But what if I told you that those personal stories are actually one of the most powerful social tools you have? That they are, quite literally, the glue that holds your friendships together? Okay, let's get into it. So let me ask you this, and just think about it for a second. Could the way you tell your stories be shaping your entire social life? Not what you say, but how you say it. Because some really fascinating research is suggesting that the very structure of your memories might be quietly pulling the strings on your social connections and maybe even your overall well-being. Now, it's not exactly a secret that sharing our experiences builds intimacy. I mean, telling a friend about some funny thing that happened last week or a rough day you had. That's how we build closeness, how we find common ground. This is a pretty well-known social function of memory. But it turns out there's a super important detail hiding in plain sight. And that detail is specificity. This is where things get really, really interesting. It all comes down to the difference between painting with a giant broad brush versus a tiny fine point pen when you tell the stories of your life. Okay, check out this example from a 2019 study. On the left, you've got this general sweeping statement. I'm no good at do-it-yourself projects. It's kind of vague, right? It's a whole category. But look at the right. That is a specific recall, an event that happened a few weeks ago. It involved a toy kitchen, and it all happened in less than 24 hours. That sharp, vivid focus, that's the key. So, scientists actually have a term for this tendency to remember things in that more general, blurry way. It's called reduced autobiographical memory specificity, or just RAMS for short. And it's not about having a bad memory, not at all. It's just a different style of pulling up those files, favoring the big picture summary over the nitty-gritty details. So the big question is, does this difference in recall style actually matter in the real world? Well, a really cool study in 2019 set out to answer exactly that. Researchers followed 142 adolescents for a whole year, and what they uncovered was this hidden ripple effect that all starts with memory. This was their core idea. They basically predicted that when you share a really specific story, like all the frustrating details of trying to build that toy kitchen, you give your friends a much clearer window into your world. It just makes it easier for them to get it, to empathize, and to offer real, meaningful support. A vague complaint just doesn't do that. And boom, here's what they found. It's this incredible three-step chain reaction. The teens who tended to have less specific memory recall, that's our RAMs, well, they also reported having weaker, poorer social support from their friends a year down the line. And then, that lack of support predicted higher levels of general distress, things like anxiety and depression. So the link isn't direct from memory to distress. It works through our friendships. That's the key. But get this, there was a really interesting twist. This whole pathway was super clear when it came to support from friends and romantic partners, but it didn't really apply to family. The researchers think that maybe during those teenage years, family support is just more, unconditional. It doesn't depend as much on this specific communication style. Okay, so we've seen this play out with teenagers, but was that just a fluke, a one-off finding? Or is this memory pattern part of a much bigger picture, one that's tied deeply to our overall mental health? Well, to answer that, we have to zoom out and look at the research on a massive scale. 74. In 2021, a team of researchers did something called a meta-analysis. It's like a study of studies. They pulled together all the data from 74 different experiments on this exact topic to see if a bigger, more consistent pattern would show up. And they looked absolutely everywhere. I mean, you can see from this chart, the studies covered people with a huge range of diagnoses: major depression, schizophrenia, PTSD, you name it. This was not about just one single condition. It was a massive, wide-ranging investigation. And because this pattern just kept popping up again and again across all these different conditions, scientists have a special name for it. They call it a transdiagnostic feature. You can think of it less as a symptom of one particular illness and more like a fundamental cognitive process, almost like a little glitch in the operating system that's linked to broader challenges in mental well-being. And this is the mic drop moment. After sifting through the data from thousands of people across all those 74 studies, the result was crystal clear and incredibly consistent. Compared to people in control groups, individuals with psychiatric diagnoses reliably and significantly recalled fewer specific memories.
It's a really solid finding that holds up time and time again.
So, what does this all mean? We've got this link between memory style and social support in teens, and we have this widespread pattern across a ton of mental health conditions. So, what? Why does this actually matter for you and me? All right, let's break it down. First, our memory is not just for us, it is a powerful social tool, maybe one of the most important we have. Second, the little details in our stories, those are the bridges we build to let people in and get support. Third, this pattern of vague recall seems to be a common thread woven through many different mental health challenges. And that brings us to the final and most hopeful point. This opens up a whole new door. Maybe we can help people not just by focusing on what they remember, but by training how they remember.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative idea to chew on. Our memories can feel so permanent, right? Like these dusty old relics from the past. But what if they're more like a skill, something we can practice and get better at? If we can train ourselves to be more specific in how we tell our own stories, could we fundamentally change the way we connect with the people who matter most to us? Something to think about.